Hi, I'd like to weigh in and express my opinion and my thoughts on this topic, this question posed by Novabug. And the question is, at least as I understand it, whether today's youth, the current generation of young gamers, kids, teenagers, and young people, will still feel the same level of nostalgia for today's systems. Will they feel the same level of emotional engagement and cherish these moments that they spend with their gaming systems the same way that we did? And by we, I mean the generations that preceded them, mainly people who were kids and teens during the 80s and the 90s. Now, I haven't watched any responses from other retro fans, especially the Highlander and Lactobacillus, those those crazy Dutch retro guys whom I mostly follow. And yeah, after posting my response, I'll go and check out their responses and see what they feel about this whole nostalgia thing. So Novabug suggested that there is probably a distinctive barrier, a sort of milestone in the gaming industry around the middle and the first decade of this century, right when systems like the PS2 and the original Xbox gave way to a new generation of connected consoles like the 360 and the PS3. And he claims that this trend is further intensified in the current gen of systems like the PS4 and the Xbox One. Well, to begin with, I don't think that people will ever stop looking back at their childhood and teen years with a very strong feeling of nostalgia. This will go on happening for on and on and on as long as there are people around. You know, but it's like a fundamental human aspect of our existence to romanticize and idealize our carefree years, the times when uh, we all thought that the world was our oyster and full of promises, the time when we first fell in love and listened to music, and every experience was a new experience. Everything was, or at least seemed fresh and vibrant and exciting. And this has everything to do with the fact that as young people, our senses, our senses are also more acute, and our brains are still malleable and absorb everything like a sponge. So consequently, everything that we experience for the first time during that period will be engraved in our minds forever and be forever kept in that sort of special place in our memories and our hearts. I believe that kids today, when they grow up, will definitely look back at the current gen of gaming systems and feel very emotional about it. Exactly because they will make this same connection with their youth, their first strong experiences of discovering the world for the first time. That being said, there is definitely something unique about growing up during the last decades of the 20th century. I was born in the early 70s. I'm 43 now, and my first engagement with gaming coincided with the birth of home entertainment systems. Not at the very, very beginning, with the Pong consoles in the late 70s, but very close to that, around 1981, 92. 1981, 82, yeah, when Spectrum came out, when Atari 2600 came out, when IBM PC came out, all these iconic systems that were meant to change the course of gaming and computing, for that matter, forever. So I grew up watching these 8-bit home micros, then, as they were called, the home micros, the 8-bit machines, giving their way to the 16-bit Amigas and Atari STs and the powerful PC compatibles. Yeah. I witnessed the transition from cartridge-based systems to CD-ROM and DVD consoles. But most importantly, I lived the arcade room era. I lived the excitement of playing the original coin-op arcades of the 80s and the 90s, from Galaga, Space Invaders, Bubble Bobble, Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, Sega Rally. There were, uh, it was an experience which it's very different from this isolation of today's remote multiplayer sessions. I lived the era when the only way to play with a friend was for them to come over at my house and fire up a two-player session, trying to beat each other in Mario Kart or Sensible Soccer, Double Dragon, Golden Axe. And technically, now another aspect is that technically these systems of that era, the systems of our childhood, our beloved retro systems, were shit. You know, clunky machines, primitive graphics, poor sound effects, unreliable and unresponsive controllers, but nevertheless, it was the time of huge diversity, real diversity. Every system was distinctive, every system was unique. Nowadays, everything is different, but everything is the same. This is a strange paradox. It's all about the accessories and the luxury, the mechanical keyboards and RGB lighting, water cooling and stuff. Everything is different in design, but ultimately everything is the same. Consoles are nothing more than proprietary uh, gaming PCs. The games are the same, exactly the same. Back then, Back then, when you played a game in the Amstrad 464, you knew it was a game in the Amstrad. You could tell the difference in the colors, the sprites, the motion from, let's say, a Spectrum game or a Commodore game. And you could see and hear the huge advancement in graphics and sound fidelity uh, from each generation to the next. For example, when I moved from my first ever PC, a black and white CGA Amstrad, to my more advanced 386 VGA system with a Sound Blaster sound card, I was blown away by the astounding, the huge difference in graphics. Nowadays, the advances in graphics are negligible. You may buy a $400 video card just to get a few more frames per second, a bit higher resolution. And I kind of agree with Novabug when he claims that the old systems and games were perhaps imbued with more love by their makers and the software developers. I mostly agree with that statement, especially with games. The software houses then were smaller, the teams were smaller. It's not like the huge and impersonal corporations of today, where in order to make a game you have to tick all the boxes for marketing and alignment with politics and this diversity stuff and all this crap. I think that gaming back then was a bit like the music industry. The top executives of the companies back then didn't know shit about gaming or music. So they let the programmers and the musicians, the artists, whoever, to do their thing. However crazy it was. So that as long as the bottom line was okay, as long as they made money, it was okay. Now, it's all about the product, the target demographic, the trends, the projections, customer loyalty, all these, business buzzwords. That's why AAA games are so shitty and boring now. It's all about open world and a ton of boring side quests and familiar franchises. All the Assassin's Creeds and all the Halo games, and zero originality. Zero. Now, You would be happy to find an original title like Superhot or Undertale, which are all indie games. And now you have only one or a couple of choices of getting, for example, a basketball game. Back in the day, there were tons of basketball games. There was a variety in the same genre. Now, I think that in the same way, people will look back and feel similar nostalgia, exactly because by the time they grow up, gaming will evolve dramatically, and it will look nothing like today. Gaming in the next decades will be holographic, surround, you know. It will have nothing to do with the 2D experience we have had for decades. It will all be about virtual reality, augmented reality, fusion of digital and real, and we will control the games with our minds. The experience will be totally immersive, and the systems will have absolutely nothing to do with anything. There will be no systems, there will be no consoles. It will be just a VR helmet, you know, sensors, and perhaps at a corner of the room there will be a dumb terminal, a black box that will connect us to the main server that will host this whole VR experience. So nostalgia will definitely remain, as today's consoles and systems are probably the last uh, that will still support physical media. Everything is transitioning now to digital services, and for me, that's a huge deal. There will be no more connection with the actual machine, how it looks, how it feels. Um, I can still remember the sound of rewinding the tape recorder for a Spectrum game and the funny loading sounds it made through the TV speaker for the 15 minutes it took to load the damn game. But this is, back then that was still the part of experience. I still remember how the on-off button of my first Amstrad PC felt like. That tactile, that tactile memory is still, I guess, still remember that. I even remember the smell of the monitor when I played for prolonged periods of time because in the Amstrad machines, the power supply was embedded in the monitor and it heated up, giving off funny, weird smells of semi-melting wiring and plastic. And yeah, I can still feel nostalgic about the physical media itself, the various tapes, floppies, cartridges, the boxes of the games, the manuals, the stupid red glasses you used to reveal the security codes for the games. All these belong to you. They were your possessions. Um, and they are still there for you if you can touch them. They have a physical aspect to them. And what's more, you can even fire up a machine of this era if it still works, of course, and uh, it will still bring back all this flow of love and nostalgia, filling your brain with groovy endorphins that will make you happy again and make you remember the days when there was no internet, just bulletin boards, BBS, maybe. Um, a time when movies were fun and gritty, like Alien or Star Wars, not uh, this pile of shitty movies, of sterile, politically correct, obnoxious reboots of old movies. Um, and I suppose, by extension, it was a time when I think human relationships and interactions in general were perhaps more honest and straightforward because you actually talk to people. Yeah, you talk to them instead of judging them from a post on Twitter or a stupid selfie on Instagram. So, yeah, I suppose that's my take on this whole matter of nostalgia of the our the current generation of systems. I don't think that my generation was special or any better than today's kids, today's youth. But I do believe that I was lucky enough to witness the birth of home computing, the birth of gaming, and this way I think I have a broader view. I can make perhaps more informed opinions about the whole thing, comparing then to now. But humans will still be humans, and as I said earlier, um, we'll always look back at our early years and associate the things we had back then with fond memories and nostalgic feelings and all that. People have always had this notion of the past days being better, like a golden age. And it's absolutely natural. As they are getting older, they are nostalgic of the days they were younger, stronger, happier, and carefree. Um, what worries me a little about today's kids is the possibility of them growing up too fast. I see them growing too fast and growing up in a more and more cynical and possibly hostile environment. It seems to me that societies rush kids to be adults too early. And I say no, let kids play, let kids experience their naivete, their youth, their, even their ignorance to the full. Let them enjoy their foolishness through their games. Let them fall in love, enjoy music, bring them together, actually together. Don't put them behind firewalls and digital barriers. But that's getting a bit off topic, and yeah, and as it was told in the end of Conan the Barbarian, this story shall also be told.